Yo, what's up guys? So today we're going to be checking out the Ancient Warriors, specifically the new card, the Rebellious Lu Fang, aka Lu Bu. This card actually makes the deck so much better. I'm sure a lot of you guys were like, Ancient Warriors, Resident Sleeper, not even good, doesn't put enough negates. Well, now with Lu Fang, aka Lu Bu, you're going to be able to have a little bit more consistency with the deck in opening up what I would consider a strong enough board to deal with today's metagame. So with an average board, you can put up 3 disruptions, which is quite nice. You might have to have some extra follow-up, but on average, that's what you might be able to go ahead and do. So this is going to be an upgraded deck profile as well as gameplay. So you guys are going to see multiple different ways to kind of play the deck. We'll give you guys different deck profiles, as well as showing off what the deck can lose to over here. And really, it kind of loses the same thing generically that most Yu-Gi-Oh decks will lose to, which is like, you literally don't get to play. But there have been a lot of people that I've been seeing just instantly leave once they see Dragoon. Now, that could be just due to some players not enjoying seeing Dragoon. But on top of that, what you're basically able to do, you have a really consistent extra free additional summon with Lu Fang, with the ability as a quick effect to go ahead and pop the highest face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, and if it's tied, you get to basically select it. Now, there are downsides with this card, but usually it doesn't really matter. You have to give this card to your opponent during the end phase if your opponent controls a face-up monster with the highest attack, even if it's tied. So that is unfortunate. He does have a downside, but most of the time you should be able to buff up their attacks, or just don't let them have monsters, because the Tri-Brigades are a really good addition to this deck. I just want to go and briefly go over like the board that you should try to establish with it. Now, you don't have to play Tri-Brigades, but going for the double Dragon Lords has a disruption, a quick effect. You get to send one card from your hand or field of the graveyard, target a face-up card your opponent controls, and bounce it back to them. This could actually work quite well with Kaijus, but I just have seen a lot of people instantly, once they see Dragoons, they feel like this deck can't deal with big monsters that have like the boss monster. You can't target, can't destroy me, but you can deal with them, and we'll get into that, and we'll show you guys some gameplay of that very soon here. But this one up over here is up against Machina, which are also getting some new support, so we'll see lots of newer decks here, as a lot of people are just kind of trying out other things. The other one was Magistus Dogmatica Invoked, which, you know, Invoked, you can throw into anything, and same thing with Dogmatica, and automatically becomes relatively powerful. But some people have felt like this deck would lose out to, again, boss monsters. Once Dragoon gets that effect of getting the extra 1000 boost, it can be kind of a threat for this deck. And one thing that I could suggest for people that are running into the situations with Dragoons is just run the Kaijus. They're excellent for being able to not only disrupt boards, whether you want to go ahead and slumber or just get rid of any problematic card that is hard to deal with. But you'll see once this BLS over here gets 4,500, we'll even show it up against another deck that will be throwing out a boss monster. But pretty much, you can get over these larger monsters, and I want to go ahead and show you guys kind of how to do it over here. So this guy, aka Dude over here, this is his variant of the deck. He's going to go ahead and try to deal with this. Now, sometimes, obviously, you can deal with it if you happen to have the right cards. With the extra deck, you can basically, there's always ways to get around other things with the extra deck, but I want to go ahead and show you guys how to get rid of maybe a boss monster where it's like it cannot be destroyed, cannot be targeted, you know, immune to a lot of effects. What can you do against those? Well, let's go ahead and check it out with this build over here, courtesy of Crispy. So he's going to go ahead and show you how to deal with these really powerful boss monster boards. As the deck, it technically can like have things, but it has to like be able to, or it can pop things too, but like again, when you're looking at monsters that are just immune to things, it becomes a little bit more difficult for some decks to deal with. Or even this whole archetype, the whole Ancient Warriors, a lot of them are able to go ahead and target effect monster, negate its effect, target to pop. You can even pop back row in the deck, which we'll briefly go ahead and go into. It's not like back row is a huge threat right now in Yu-Gi-Oh, as pretty much the only deck that's going to have lots of back row is either Altergeist or maybe like Mystic Mine, and with Mystic Mine you're not going to be able to use your monster effects anyways, so that is something to also take in consideration. But he's going to go ahead and make Dark Requiem, but more importantly, it's again dealing with these boss monsters. He's got Ultimate Falcon, he's also got Boral Sword, so I guess kind of high stat monsters. It's not like the stats are the biggest problem. But this card over here, it also cannot be destroyed by battle. Not that it matters anyways, because that's not too big of a problem for this deck. But you'll see the Ultimate Falcon over here. It is one of those monsters that is immune to majority of things in the game. But the Valiant Zhongdi over here does have this awesome effect where it's going to gain extra attack. And on top of that, you also have the Double Dragon Lords. It's going to boost them up by 500 attack. So you can see right now we're at 5,000 attack over here because there is the ability to go ahead and absorb kind of a monster, so to speak, with it. So you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard. You get to go ahead and search, and then if another Ancient Warrior monster's effect is activated, you can target a monster opponent controls and just bounce it back. So you have that ability as well. But the thing that it really helps out, this is mostly if your opponent happens to have like another monster in combination with their super boss monster, which is like immune to everything. This card over here, the 100,000 arrows or barring of arrows. You get to target a face-up monster opponent controls and an Ancient Warrior until the end of the turn. You get to half and you get to absorb that damage over there. That could actually be something used with the Lu Bu or Lu Fang. Like I said, if I call it one or the other, they're probably going to change the name when it finally comes out anyways in the TCG. But nonetheless, that could be an advantage to maybe giving your opponent a card. Again, Kaiju over there would instantly give you an access to a target where you can go ahead and absorb and get over potentially that boss monster. So there's like kind of two ways to get around it. You can try to beef up your own stuff, or you can just go ahead and use this or just go ahead and Kaiju, right? Easy ways to get rid of your opponent's stuff over here. Which, speaking of which, this guy has opted to go ahead and main deck. So this guy Dasher's build over here it does run the Kaiju in the main deck. There's even Dark Ruler no more, as even if you're unable to go ahead and OTK your opponent, you can still now with, again, Lu Bu or Lu Fang, you're able to establish a board, have an additional disruption, and on top of that, the deck already, I would say, does a great job out of just popping things, because they basically have their own like Cyber Dragon, and they also have lots of other cards that can just simply pop cards. There's the Southeast Wind over here. You get to toss a coin. If it's heads, you get to send a card to the graveyard. But if this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to activation of your Ancient Warrior cards and effects until the end of the turn. They all gain that effect. So that basically is a built-in no negate me, which, I mean, it's kind of random, to be honest, but it is technically there, and I did want to go ahead and mention some of the setups that you guys can go ahead and opt to go ahead and utilize. And on top of that, he was able to bounce back the Gamma Seal, so he has it set up. So unless your opponent is OTKing you, they better be ready for the second round of Kaijus. That's why I really like Kaijus in this deck, just because it reminds me of your Senjus back when you would tribute your opponent's monster and then you'd bounce back and you'd have that follow-up play later down the line, which is excellent. So this one is just against Harpies. I just want to show some of the other cards that weren't really utilized, and there is still an excellent card. Unfortunately, it has kind of been outdated, which is Tiger King. So GA over here, going to be playing it with Tri-Brigades, and I really think that Tri-Brigade engine is really good to go ahead and mix up. Unfortunately, he gets stopped by the Called by the Grave. It's only out one, but sometimes when your opponent has it, it is too good. So we have the 3 visits over here. I do like this card a lot. So if you normal or special summon an Ancient Warrior monster, you target one of those monsters and add another Ancient Warrior monster with a different name from your deck to your hand. It just has a lot of consistency, and again, this is just a free special summon and an extra negation that the deck has. And just with this new addition of Lu Fang, it takes the deck from like, it's kind of like some people play, and sometimes it can win to like, no, the deck is really consistent now, and it can consistently throw up that additional negate or that extra body to go ahead and attack over an additional monster, because it has decent stats, and if you go ahead and go for the link, you're at 3,300 immediately. So that's why I like it so much. And then on top of that, there's a card over here. I want to pause it real quick. So this card is quite nice. Once per turn, you target a spell and trap on each field and destroy them. A lot of times these cards kind of get left over, and then on top of that, you have access to a pretty decent Exceed monster, which you guys will go ahead and be able to utilize, which I think some people just forgot it just existed at all. So we're going to go ahead and once again see the Lu Fang. He's going to go ahead and be able to add another card, go for the Tri-Brigade, and go into Masquerena over here. But I really like the Tiger King, which is a card that, again, it's just been pretty much phased out, that a lot of people forgot about back in the Fire Fist days, but I just want to go ahead and mention, like, you can do other things in the deck than what you guys just saw in the first few plays over here. But now, let's go ahead and hop right into the deck profile. So there are going to be several deck profiles over here, and I want to go ahead and start it off with the first one over here, which was the Tri-Brigade one. I thought this one was really powerful. It was, again, the first one had the 3 disruptions instantly, yeah, again, Lu Fang, so good for the deck. So most of them will be playing 3 copies of it, and I would probably recommend it as well. And you'll see that there are no Ash Blossoms over here, no impermanents, so this, depending on what rarity some of these other cards come out in, it could be a really budget-friendly deck looking into the future over here with, again, undetermined rarities technically. But yeah, Tiger King is an excellent card. Being able to go ahead and just set one and then basically go plus with it is excellent, especially if you can go ahead and get out multiples of them. But usually you make one and you'll be a-okay. But yeah, mixing on the Tri-Brigade just gives you that extra form of disruptions with, of course, being able to special summon more of those monsters. But I'll go ahead and mouse over all the cards real quick, as we do have several different deck profiles. And to get over all of these relatively quick, I will also include the download file. In case any of you guys want to go ahead and download it via the Discord, you guys can go ahead and do so as well. This one does happen to have the impermanence. So I know some people are trying to build budget decks and they might not have certain cards, or this one over here. This guy's just opting to play 1. I know it's like searchable, but like the, wait, actually, hold on. He's playing 2. I don't know. It messed up the sort. Yeah, I would suggest playing 3. And then the card is just so good. Like, I don't feel like it can really ever be bad unless like you have to give it to your opponent. Keep in mind sometimes with some of these cards, when a card gets updated, like there's probably more cards in the extra deck, but sometimes when a card gets updated, the card like ID goes away, and that's why you only see 9. But obviously you can play more in here. You can throw extravagance if you want to, which is what this player decided to go ahead and do. As the deck, it doesn't really need the extra deck that much. I mean, this card is absolutely amazing. Double Dragon Lords. I would highly recommend playing, like, if you're playing the extravagance, I would recommend playing 3 of these. I also think Baguska is really good because a lot of times if you don't happen to have enough negates, you can just be like, okay, 2 monsters, bam, I'm going to stall. So that can also be something to take into consideration as well when you are building your Ancient Warriors deck. But this is the other Tri-Brigade variant, as, like I said before, I think Tri-Brigade is a really great way to go ahead and play the deck. And like I mentioned before, the Dark Ruler No More, I mean, you could opt to play it. I mean, the other card is a 50% chance to go ahead and get that effect, right? But for those of you guys that do want the consistency, yeah, Lightning Storm or Dark Ruler can probably be really good for you guys. But I really like the Huang build over here, which is the first one. But shoutouts to Dude, Crispy, Dash, and GA for being able to go ahead and make these awesome cool decks with, of course, the new Rebellious Lu Fang. But if you guys have played against this deck or have played it, let me know, guys, what you think of it with the new edition. I think it really makes the deck so much more consistent and so much better because, again, every single time I showcase off a deck, people first want to ask, how many negates does it put up? And consistently, again, this is 1, this is 2. If you go for the Tri-Brigade engine, obviously that really helps out, and you can spam the board with a lot of monsters because you have the consistency, especially since Tenki searches out whatever you want, and the other card can search out another card. You could, I'd say, pretty consistently throw out 3, but if we're really pushing 4 or 5, it might be a little bit difficult for the deck. Now, I also want to mention, keep in mind that there is one downside to Lu Fang that I do need to mention. There is an effect that you cannot activate other effects the turn you activate this effect, except for Ancient Warrior monsters. But what you do is you go ahead and use the other effects first, and then you can try to utilize that as like the last one. But usually they'll try to disrupt you somewhere along lines. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you are new here, make sure you guys subscribe with that bell notification rung so you don't miss out on any updates for the Ancient Warriors or any other Yu-Gi-Oh decks. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. And I'm signing out. Peace.